Right, so good afternoon and welcome to another TA update here. It's coming up to 1 p.m. here in the UK, and today is the 20th of June 2022. So let me just do the usual checks, make sure that the audio and video are working. It all seems to be working fine. Good afternoon, Jay. Yeah, I sound like an Aussie, mate. It's just trying to emulate your accent. But yeah, sound and picture all good. Nice one. Thank you, Jay. So I hope you had a nice weekend. I hope you enjoyed some of the sunshine, enjoying the summertime. And yeah, best just crack on. So looking at the cryptocurrency heat map, you can see that the great majority of it is in green. We've got a little bit of a bounce. I mean, nothing special or nothing worth writing home about, but you know, it's a bounce nonetheless, with very few in the double digits. Actually, the great majority of them are just in the single digits. But yeah, you see a few shit coins there just going on in double digits and stuff. But the great majority of it is just quite moderate, just a little sort of bounce or whatever. So on the stock market, you can see the great majority of it. Well, it's actually a mixed bag, with certain sectors doing better than others. But yeah, just a mixed bag. So what have we got for this week? Not really much going on. I think today is a bank holiday in the United States. I think it marks the end of slavery, and therefore it's a public holiday, I believe. I don't know, I don't live in the States, so I'm happy to stand corrected. But there's not a lot going on, and I think we've got a pretty quiet week as far as the United States is concerned, the Federal Reserve. Although it says here that Jay Powell is testifying on Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. I'm not entirely sure what this is. Semi-annual monetary policy report before the Senate Banking Committee. So I mean, it's got a little red folder, so this could potentially have a high impact, but you know, nothing significant. We've got the unemployment claims, and again we've got Jay Powell testifying on Thursday, and this is again the semi-annual monetary policy report before the House Financial Services Committee in Washington. But I mean, other than that, there's not really a lot of volatility-inducing moments that could potentially turn sort of things around, or that it could sort of like create a lot of volatility in crypto. So anyway, that's good. We get a nice quiet week. So moving on, let's just have a look. I'll just bring this correlation chart just so that people are aware that we're still basically very much correlated with the S&P. So the S&P is the blue line that you see here. Bitcoin is obviously the orange line, and you can see that this is just a 4-hour chart, but you can see how closely correlated it is, right? It hasn't changed, okay? So it's very closely correlated. However, people are saying that if we are indeed to find the bottom, the monetary policy, you know, the banksters or whatever, continue to sort of dump, and Bitcoin finds a bottom, then potentially we could decorrelate from these financial assets. We will not keep going down if the TradFi market keeps going down. I mean, I don't know. I've got my reservations on that. I don't like to sort of like create narratives or biases with things that you know, Bitcoin, we don't know. Bitcoin has never been through a recession before, okay? So it was created on the hangover of the last big recession in 2008, 2009 actually. So the bubble popped in 2008 with the housing and with the problem that we had with the subprime mortgages and whatever in America, and that was the last crisis. And then Bitcoin, of course, was created on the hangover of that. So this is a stress test on crypto, really. So who knows where the bottom is? It doesn't really matter. As long as I can find the setups to trade, then it doesn't matter if it's at the bottom or if it's at the top. You can still make money either way. So I just wanted to illustrate that the correlation is still very much there, despite what some people are saying, and so nothing really has changed on that matter, right? So let's move on to the S&P, and we start here with a 3-day chart. You can see that we're very much still, it's a big sort of drawdown. I mean, you know, this is a big sort of like move from these highs all the way down. That's like 12% right there, okay? So, and like I said to you guys before, we could potentially have a few little ranges here, which is basically where these dotted lines are. And the most clear range, obviously, this is one big volume distribution. So I mean, this is probably the most clear range, is this, right? So, and at the moment it does look like we're at the bottom. If we divide that in two, we're kind of in the bottom half of this distribution. So in between this green line and this blue line, if you like, is where I think we will find a range. Okay, so obviously break to the downside and it's catastrophic for everything, and I think that we'll probably find a bottom around about 3,200 points, but at the moment support is around about 3,600 points, and then 3,800 is relative resistance. Okay, there's a big shelf here, a ledge here on the volume profile. So the discrepancy in volume could cause resistance there. In fact, it has already. But yes, if we could break above that, then by all means I think we are likely to travel to the other side of the balance area, which is around about 4,000 points. Okay, if we're looking here at the VWAPs, basically you can see that this is the developing years VWAP, right? And here we've got the first standard deviation and the second standard deviation, and some here +1 and +2 standard deviations, right? And you can see that this is the 2021, and this is the value area low of 2021, and the -2 standard deviation of 2021. It closed here, right where the 2020 value area high closed as well here. Okay, so again, lots of confluence around about here, 3,600 points. So I do expect that level to hold as support. But of course, you know, any sort of like dramatic news, a lot of these markets are news driven, so any dramatic news coming out of the Federal Reserve, and yeah, and we could see these levels getting broken. Okay, so that's basically what I'm seeing here on the higher time frame. Nothing really special to write home about. Everything's very quiet. I'm not sure if the markets are closed or open, but you know, either way, lower lows, lower, you know, we just keep printing lows, and we just, you know, it's just kind of, we form a range, there's an impulse, there's a range, there's an impulse, and we just keep printing lower highs and lower lows. So here we are right now. I think this is indeed resistance around about here. This could be indeed support around about here, and it looks like this level is being front run at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it actually getting tapped before any significant moves to the upside. Okay, at the moment it does look like here on the S&P we're kind of tapping last week's value area low on the VWAPs. Okay, we have not even tapped the developing months VWAP here, value area low here. Okay, although we have been rejected right about there. Okay, but we could potentially see a little bounce here and just test that value area low of the month and just see where we are right there. Okay, note that it's quite confluent with that area that I designated as resistance, right about 3,800 points. So, you know, we could potentially see that, or we might even see lows first, get that tapped, maybe even a deviation to the downside, and then that gets bought up and we go to the other side of balance. So that's potentially it. But if we do go down to this end here, I would more than likely be inclined to, let me just show you on this on the daily chart here. If we do tap this level here, then of course this is like the whole distribution, so I would think that it would go from here to here eventually, okay, and just test both sides of the balance, especially if there's a little deviation to the downside and then a reclaim. Okay, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Anyway, I don't trade this, I'm just charting it just so that you guys are aware of the S&P and what could potentially happen going forward. Okay, so we're nowhere near the well, you could argue that this is indeed support, but if this breaks, then we're nowhere near the bottom, right? We can go much lower, so we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. So that's the S&P. Moving on to the Nasdaq, again, not much to be said other than the fact that we are kind of below this previous level. Okay, so we are kind of like potentially forming a new range down here. Okay, so somewhere between 10,400 points and 11,700 or 11,600 points. Okay, so this range down here, you can see that we are testing, we've tested it here before, the value area low, the developing months VWAP. Okay, we've tested it here as well and we failed, and we're currently very close to testing that. Okay, so we could potentially have another stab at that and just see if we can reclaim this, and if we could reclaim there, then I think we've got a little bit more of an argument to break this previous level of support here. okay, and enter this distribution in here. But we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. I mean, at the moment it looks like it is resistance, and it will be resistance until proven otherwise. All right, on the lower time frames you can see that we've basically reclaimed the previous week's right here, right? So we reclaimed the previous week's value area low. Okay, we got rejected here at the VWAP. Okay, the VWAP resets, we got above it, couldn't hold it, and now we're just rotational inside the developing week's VWAP. Okay, we're above it, we're above the weekly VWAP, so we could potentially going to test this level up here, 11,500 points, but we've got a very prominent low volume area just above us. Okay, so this is resistance until proven otherwise. All right, so levels to the downside, of course, if we lose this level here, or even if we tap this level up here, then if we're still going to be rotational inside of this value here, then we could potentially come and see all the way down to 11,200 points and test that support. Okay, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Okay, again, there's no point of trading lower time frames on this on these things. I'm not really interested in that. I'm just looking because, again, both the S&P and the Nasdaq take it in turns to be correlated with Bitcoin, so it's just, you know, just something to keep an eye on. So with that, and speaking of the devil, let's move on to Bitcoin, and we're looking here at where we've bounced. Okay, so we bounced very close to, okay, so we've lost that second standard deviation. Start from the beginning. Okay, we lost that. That's the second standard deviation of the 2021 VWAP close. Okay, so we closed here. This is the -1, this is the -2 standard deviation, and we lost that. Once we've lost that, we had a little bit of consolidation there. We were kind of like holding as support. Now inevitably that's going to be resistance now, but once we've lost that, we went down looking for balance. Okay, and like I'd said before in previous TA updates, I mean, there's not a lot in terms of volume there, right? There's hardly anything. There was this level that I highlighted here, around about $24,000, and then there was this level here as well, of course, which is where we are right now. And then we've got the very obvious one around about between $12,000 and $4,000. Okay, so with that, what I've done is I highlighted some of the balance areas. So I put it like this. Let me just take the VWAP off a second. All right, so let me just extend this so that it makes a little bit more sense to you guys. All right, so this is actually a little bit more like this. Okay, it's obviously developed a little bit, but you can see that basically all I'm doing here is highlighting previous levels or volume, the edges of the volume profile, right? So I'm doing this on Coinbase. This is much better defined on Bybit, by the way, but I'm just going to do this on Coinbase just because, yeah, why not? The chart is a bit crowded on Bybit, but I'll go to that in just a second. You can see we've got a little bit of consolidation there from way back in November 2020. And of course, that's what created this little balance area here, this high volume cluster. That's exactly where we bounced. We bounced on the lower edge of that volume cluster. And here we are. Now we're kind of back in an imbalance area. There's hardly any volume between this area here and this area here. Okay, but it's important that we reclaim that. Either way, that's kind of where we bounced. And at the moment, this is where we are. I mean, below this level here, again, as you can see, this volume is kind of like, you know, it's crap, it's non-existent, right? So you can see how the price travels so quickly through an area of low volume, and that's kind of what happens, right? It will hold its support until it doesn't, and when it doesn't, the price just goes straight through it like butter, right? And so basically this is why I've got another balance area right about here, 12k. All right, the problem with that is that everybody now is calling for 12k. So Bitcoin has a habit of front running or kind of doing the opposite of what the herd wants. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this here being the local bottom and not 12k at all, okay, and actually getting that missed out. So I just wanted to highlight that there, okay. In terms of weekly levels, I think we do have a weekly level way down here. If I look at the weekly chart, Coinbase, it goes, yeah, that's fairly accurate there. So that's exactly where we bounce on that weekly level. So in the next weekly level that we've got, is pretty much all the way up to 29,976, at least on Coinbase. Okay, so let's have a look at Bybit, because Bybit I've got a few more levels here, and again the same principle. I've got these rectangles here. They're just basically balance areas. Okay, they're just highlighting where these volume clusters are. And if I put the weekly levels on, you can see that we got a couple of weekly levels there, and that's basically where we bounced, right? So there we are. So it's a balanced area. There's a weekly level there as well. And if I was to put the VWAPs on, and I was taking these volume zones off and these weekly levels off. No, okay, there's not much in the way of, I mean, there is this value area high of the 2020 VWAP close here, right? So VWAP close here. So this is basically that where the VWAP closed in 2020. This is the value area high. This is the value area low. And we kind of like tapped that. We came below it, but it looks like we're getting rejected and trying to get back above it. Okay, so it is imperative for bullish momentum that we get back above $21,000. And I expect that we probably will, just because, again, like I said, everybody's looking for lower prices now. And so I don't know how that's going to pan out for them. Okay, so but in terms of volume zones, you can see that this area here, we've not found balance here. We're getting rejected there. Is potentially we could come back there, of course, but right now we're testing this balance area here, and we'll see how we fare there. Okay, so that's looking at around about 21,370. Let's just see how that pans out. Okay, obviously acceptance above 21,300 means that we're most certainly going to test both sides of this balance, okay, and then try and find a little bit of balance there, you know, so just, you know, a little bit of a range there. Of course, if we get rejected at that level there, at 21,300, 21,500 or whatever, likelihood is that we come back down and then we kind of range in here until we break to either side. Okay, we can either break back to the upside, or we can even come and test the lows and just see how that fares. All right, so of course, if we come to the lows and we cannot get back above there, then I think we're going to go much lower, but we don't know that. We can't sort of speculate on that just yet. So in terms of the lower time frames, this is the higher time frame kind of view. I'm just going to take these volume zones off, okay, just for a second, and I want to illustrate, and for some of you are kind of new here, so I'm just going to sort of illustrate here what I'm doing. So this here is the yearly VWAP on the 3-day chart. Okay, this one here, I'm just going to delete that a second because I've got this as so this is the yearly, this here is the quarterly VWAP, this here is the monthly VWAP, and this here is the weekly VWAP. Okay, so as you can see, okay, we're kind of like looking at the different values, if you like, the different VWAPs on different time frames. But anyway, I'll move on to the 4-hour chart with the monthly VWAP here, and you can see that basically we've been rejected here a couple of times. So one here and one here, and we're trying to enter the value area low of this monthly VWAP. Okay, at the moment it does look like it's resistance, and it's resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, and that's sitting at around about $21,000. All right, so the CME chart closed on Friday, of course, and if we look at that, you can see that there's a massive gap here, right? So you can see there's a massive gap in price here as the price gap down, and so we've got a gap there. I mean, this is, you know, a little bit of a meme, but it has confluence with the HVE, with the high volume edge here of this volume cluster. So potentially for the upside, if we are to come to the upside, that's potentially where I see it going. Okay, or at least this is the last line of defense, if you like. But let's go back to the Bybit chart, because I just wanted to show you this on the higher, on a 4-hour chart, right? So we've got the value area low of the monthly, and we've also got the monthly VWAP here, okay, and we've got the previous month's value area low and high and close here. Okay, this is the developing monthly VWAP. Now note where the value area low of the previous month is. It's right there. Okay, which is at the edge of this high volume cluster at 28,700. It's also where that CME gap is, and ultimately it's very close to the value area high of the month. So this is a significant level of resistance if indeed this is a bottom and we're going to start seeing a rally here. I'm not under any illusion that, of course, we could, this is resistance here, and even if we come all the way up to here to the monthly VWAP at 25,000, we could completely just continue printing lower highs, right, and lower lows. So I'm under no illusion, but I'm just trying to give you a higher time frame perspective of what we could see here as levels of resistance, and so I'm starting from the top here. Okay, So again, we've got, let me just take those things off. We've got those levels there as potential resistance, right? If I look at this, in fact, let me just take those off a second. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put the thing back on again. So I'm back on the bottom right hand corner here, looking at the monthly VWAP, and I'm drawing the resistance level there, drawing where the monthly VWAP is, and of course where that CME line is. Okay, so I want you to look over to the left to the weekly VWAP chart. Okay, and you can see that basically, yes, we have reclaimed the weekly developing, so the previous week value area low, right? We are above the developing value area high of the current week, right? So we've gained this level here. However, we're finding resistance at that value area low of the monthly, right? And then we've got the weekly VWAP, the previous week's VWAP here around about 21,700 and also at 23,600. Okay, so even if we're starting to see little bits of movement like this, you know, this could potentially still be a range in here. We could be just rotational inside of that. So there's plenty of resistance above us. It's not just going to be like, right, that's it, we've printed the bottom and we're going to the fucking moon again, right? So you guys have to kind of like, you know, to just try and get it in your mind that we trade level to level, and that's kind of how it should be, right? Because otherwise you just fall into this trap of thinking that it's a generational bottom and you just don't take profits, etc. It is good that we're above the weekly VWAP, which is also the daily, because obviously it's a Monday and we've reset. So it's good that we're above also the previous week's value area low here on the weekly VWAP. But again, you know, we still have plenty of key levels to get through in order to get out of this mess, right? So looking back at this 4-hour chart here, you can see that we've got a little range forming here, right? So if we do something like this, right, it kind of all starts to make sense. Okay, yes, we did get rejected there, all right, but we are above the equilibrium if this is indeed the new range, right? So let's just put this a little bit more accurate, somewhere like that, right? And you can see that it is a decent range, as it is being respected here. The halfway mark, if you like, the equilibrium is being respected. So, and we've tapped the bottom now and we're on our way up. Okay, so I think the next step here in terms of resistance is around about this level, around about 23,000. Okay, $23,000. If you look at this objectively, you can see that it's also, this is a volume distribution here. You can see it's a low volume node on that volume distribution, right? Round about here. Okay, the price traveled very quickly through that, so there's hardly any volume here. But that's kind of basically what I'm seeing right now. Low volume node there. Price travel very quickly. Potentially we could retrace all of this. But we've still, like I said, we've still got resistance above. We've got the monthly VWAP, we've got the weekly VWAP somewhere around here, and of course then we've got that really strong resistance around about 28,700. So be under no illusion that even if you're trading this to the upside, yes, there is a great opportunity here, but it might not be the generational bottom that we're looking for, okay? And I'll show you that on market profile, why I'm being kind of a little bit cautious here, because this doesn't look like a generational bottom to me. Okay, I don't see a massive capitulation candle, a massive wick to the downside, but you know, I could be wrong, of course. But anyway, this is the range that you should be trading right now. There is a little bit of resistance here, of course, like I said, and this at the highs, potentially this is an area to be short, okay, and at the lows here, potentially this is an area to be long. And we could be ranging somewhere between 17,500 and 23,000 for the next sort of couple of months, okay, just like we did here for so long, where we're just going sideways. So just manage your risk adequately, okay? Of course, we could just, from here, we could just go back to the bottom again, and then we'll have to see what happens if we are indeed to form a range, or if we could just continue trending here. But I can potentially see a range forming here and going a little bit of sideways price action, as we have seen relentless selling for weeks now, right? So that's what I'm looking at right now on the lower time frames. I'm just looking to see if I can find the range, okay? Obviously there are signs of recovery, as we are above that weekly VWAP, the value area low of the weekly VWAP. But I'd like to see us regain these levels here and perhaps even break out of this range if we are indeed to start targeting these higher levels. But for now, I'm not, I'm staying kind of cool and just going from level to level. Okay, so that's basically what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin. So I hope that is clear for you guys. Let's have a look at what you're all saying here on the chat. Dave from Brisbane, good evening, mate. Gursimran saying, which VWAP indicator is this? Well, this is actually a custom VWAP indicator that I got it coded for myself. But if you join the group on the FODL, I can perhaps give you access and show you how to use it. So just make sure you join the Discord group and participate in the group, and we'll go from there, man. Right. Anyway, so there's no questions, so let's just move on. And I think we'll start with Exocharts, and I will go to the weekly. No, I'll go to the monthly volume profile here. Okay, so we've been looking at the monthly volume profile here for a while, and I did highlight this thing here, which is basically a naked point of control that was sticking out like a sore thumb when we were way up here. Okay, all the way down around about $19,000, and of course we took that now. And it's no longer a naked point of control. Okay, so we took that, and it looks like we're kind of bouncing here. Okay, in terms of naked points of control, we've got more around about 11,200, 11,300, something like that. But there is a big gap in between there. Okay, on the monthly. But if the trend is to continue, as you can see here, right? You can see that basically we're still kind of printing lower highs, lower lows, right? If this is to continue, then of course that I wouldn't be surprised to see all of this liquidity being grabbed here. Okay, but or maybe not even all of it, but I mean potentially it could do. I mean it goes all the way down to 6,000. But for now, this one here that was glaringly obvious at around about 19,000 has been taken. Okay, so and it does look like we're on our way up. Moving on to the weekly volume profile. We also had basically, like I said, we had this consolidation here. I had highlighted this last time. I highlighted this level here, which is basically just that you can see that there's a little volume distribution there, okay, which is very similar to what I showed you on the candlestick charts, and that's basically exactly where we kind of landed and bounced here. So we bounced around the lower edge of that, okay, and we've taken that naked point of control now. We do have another naked point of control a little bit below here, around about 15,900, so let's say around about $16,000. And you can see that we've got a few little sort of distributions in volume here, but nothing significant compared to where we are right now. Or where we bounced from, right? And we're right now we're actually in a state of imbalance, as you can see here. This is an imbalance area, and we're looking to go and find acceptance here, right? This is where we need to find acceptance above 22,000, somewhere between 22,000 and $25,000. All right, this is basically where we need to find acceptance, and we need to start ranging up there. Okay, but don't know if we've got enough strength to get up there, right? So let's just take one day at a time and just see how that plays out. But at the moment we're kind of in a low volume area, and we're just kind of like trying to see where we're gonna find that balance and find that range to be trading in. Okay, so just testing liquidity now and just looking for buyers and sellers. Okay, it looks like we found the buyers. Now we're going to go up and see if we can find some sellers. But either way, in terms of naked point of control, like I said, we've got one at round about $16,000, and then the rest is a little bit lower, around about 11,500, 9,500, and also $7,500. Okay, so that's on the weekly. And on the daily, it's a little bit more densely populated, as you can see here. We've got another naked point of control at around about 16.8. We've got another one at 15.3, and we've got some more here around about $13,000. But we've also, and more importantly, left a naked point of control above here at 23,656. So if we are indeed to find a little range here, like I highlighted on the candlesticks, right, where it's kind of like divided in half, right, like I showed you guys, right? So basically we had a little range here, then we came to the bottom, this is the halfway mark, somewhere like that, and this is the top of the range. Well, guess what? On the top of that range, we now have a naked point of control that we've left behind, and it's sitting at around about 23,600. Okay, so potentially that's where we're going to right now. If we break above that and continue rallying, then we've got another one at around about 27,400. Okay, and that's again yet another level of interest. But then we're getting very close to this area of balance where we've been rotating sideways for quite some time, and a previous level of support, when it breaks down, turns to resistance. So this could potentially be, I think this will be very strong resistance anyway. But yeah, I mean, if we carry on going up, this is potentially where we could go. Okay, if we go lower, then of course we've got these naked points of control as well that you want to keep in mind. But at the moment, it does look like there's no change, right? Everybody's saying this is a local bottom. It could be, but I mean, this could have been a local bottom, right? That's why everybody keeps shouting for bottoms every time we have a nice big candle. So lower highs, lower lows, we're still in a downtrend. Unless we see a break in market structure, I'm not seeing that. I'm not, I'm not going crazy bullish until we see a significant break in market structure. And for me, a break in market structure, like I said, we want to be, if this is the previous highs, right, I want to see this kind of thing, right? We want to break above the range high, right, or the previous highs, take that out, and then print a higher low. And ideally, if this is actually an established range, I don't even want to see the price going back inside the range, right? Because otherwise that's a fake out, and we're probably going to be like doing something like this, and we go back to the bottom of the range and range like that, right? But ideally what I want to see is I want to see a bounce there. This is a break in market structure. I want to see bullish momentum to the upside. Okay, that's a break in market structure, and then I will be happy to say that, yeah, that's definitely a temporary bottom. I don't care about grabbing the bottom as long as I can grab my setup. Okay, so basically a break like this, retest, I'm happy to go long here and then target these levels here. For me, it's just how I trade. I'm not really interested in catching the bottom and having a little bit of clout and going on Twitter telling everybody that I caught the bottom and I called it. That's not what I do. I'm not interested in what other people think. I'm just interested in making money. So anyway, going back to Exocharts, the reason why I don't think this is really a bottom yet is because, unfortunately, and this is all very tiresome, we keep leaving poor lows behind. Okay, so this is a poor low, very weak low. There's no conviction there from the buyers. Again, another weak low there. All right, and yet another one today here. Okay, there's just no excess on these lows, right? So it's just kind of, it's basically just liquidity that could have been taken, and it hasn't. It shows lack of conviction, and therefore I think that we could potentially go and revisit that again, because we're constantly searching for liquidity. So yeah, that's basically what I think. Okay, of course I could be completely wrong, and we can just leave that behind. It has happened that we've left, for example, poor highs all the way up here, for instance, right? That's a poor high, that's a poor high. Did we take that? No, we didn't take that. So I'm not going to get over obsessed about it. If it goes over 2 or 3 days after that, then I kind of ignore it, okay, because the price will just continue trending. But in the sort of like in the immediate vicinity, okay, there's only been a couple of days, I wouldn't be surprised to see these lows getting swept, right? But of course, like I said, if we break above and then after 2 or 3 days nothing's happened there, then of course then we can just ignore that and just move forward and start drawing ranges and stuff. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so we've got some pull lows below. That's the anomaly, basically. We've also got a VWAP close way down here at 19,500. That usually gets a tap before we move anywhere. This one is actually incorrect. That's been tapped just there. Okay, but we've also got a naked point of control here at 23,667. Okay, so let's say 23,600 just to make it easier. Okay, so again, that's that break in market structure range. The range and the break in market structure, and potentially a new start, of a new trend, if you like, a start of a new trend. But I really want to see this level getting broken and going above that. Okay, so $23,600 really. Of course, if we do break above that, we've got that naked point of control at 27,300, and then we've got all these other anomalies here. We've got another range, we've got plenty of VWAP closes, we've got also an anchored VWAP from 40k, and we start looking at higher prices. Okay, but the one thing that I want to highlight, sort of like in the lower time frames and what is happening right now, okay, is that I'm looking at all of these longs here, right? So all of these guys were caught offside, and of course we're trapped, right? Because let me just expand it so you guys can see, right? So all these guys up here, if I put this as delta, but price, you guys can see that like the great majority, look at that, red, all at the bottom, everybody's selling, at the top, everybody's buying, right? So what happens here at the top, that everybody that bought here got trapped as the price traveled very quickly much lower. Okay, so all these guys are trapped. So what happens when the price goes back up? These guys are basically resistance. They want to get out of break even. Okay, so admittedly, yes, we've already rallied there. A few of them would have exited. Okay, but if you look at the previous profile, look at these guys here as well. So on the delta, sort of like you see plenty of resistance above us here, right? So we're looking at 21,400, something like that. So somewhere between 21,000, 21,400, an area of plenty of apes that got trapped there. Okay, so you've got all these guys, you've got all these guys here as well, and of course not to mention these guys here as well. Okay, so we got plenty of resistance above. It's not going to be a piece of cake where that's the bottom and that's it, we're going to the moon now. It doesn't work like that, it takes time. So I just wanted to highlight that. So we've got a little bit of resistance here as well. Of course, we've already been there today and we're kind of like going back down again. And then potentially, like I said, we've got these levels here, somewhere between 21,000 and 21,400 for now anyway. Okay, then if we move above, then you can start looking at somewhere between 21,500 and $23,000. All right, and then we're kind of talking a little bit more in this realm up here. But for now, that's what I can see. I can see that we've got plenty of resistance above. So let's just see, do we form a range or do we get like really strong impulses to the upside? It's anyone's guess. I don't know. I'll trade level to level. I know exactly where the levels are. I've already shown you where the levels are here on the 4-hour chart, right? And we just want to see what happens here, right? So we know that this is resistance right now. Okay, if we stay above this equilibrium area here, the 0.5, then we start perhaps forming a range here, perhaps even test that monthly view up there. Okay, but if we do break above it, we don't want to go back inside of that range. Okay, this now becomes a boundary, if you like, and if we stay above here, this is a long position, and I'll be targeting this level here, right? However, if we do rally above and then fall back inside of the range, then of course I'll be targeting the bottom of the range and perhaps even lower. All right, so that's basically the plan for me, and I'm looking at sort of like yeah, I'm just looking at these levels and just seeing where we're going to go. So with Bitcoin out of the way, I don't know if there's any more questions. No, there's no more questions. So I think I will move on to Ethereum. We'll go on to Ethereum USD. All right, so start here on the 3-day chart. You can see that we got very close to this -2 standard deviation of the 2021 VWAP here. Okay, so that's kind of where we bounced right now, and you can see that it has perfect confluence with this low volume area here, like I'd been saying, around about $800, $1,000, right? And that's kind of basically where we bounced right now. All right, if I was to put those balance areas back on, you can see here, let me just take the VWAP off. You can see that that's basically exactly what I'd been saying, and if you don't believe me, just go back on the channel and have a look at the previous TA updates, and I did say that this low volume area is an area of interest, and this is basically where you should be buying. Okay, of course, if we get acceptance back below inside of this green rectangle here, meaning below $800, then you want to watch out, because we could potentially test both sides of the balance, and we could potentially go as low as $400. But that's a little bit far-fetched, isn't it? I mean, $400 on Ethereum from $4,000 seems crazy, right? So this was potentially a really good entry here for Ethereum, even if we only go to around about $1,500. Okay, $1,500 is resistance, as you can see here, is yet another low volume node. So this is the whole distribution here in the balance area, if you like. And so I think we're rotational inside of this for now. Okay, on the higher time frame, that's all you need to know. Somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500. Of course, I'm gonna break it down, and we can sort of like look at this on the lower time frames, so it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, that's basically the long and the short of it, right? So let's just move on to the lower time frames, and let's just see what we've got here. Just going to take that range off a second. So you see the difference here on Ethereum. Actually, Ethereum is looking a little bit better, and this might be actually visible on Ethereum Ethereum BTC chart. So we've got pretty much the same kind of range situation that we see on Bitcoin, right? So let's just do this a little bit more accurately, right? So we've got potentially the same sort of thing. However, if you notice, and I take this away, we've reclaimed the value area low of this monthly VWAP, okay? And that's a perfect take and retest and now bounce, right? You can see that there in these candles. So this is good. This is great for Ethereum, right? So potentially what is this? $1,050, which has also got a little low volume area there, could potentially be support now. And if it is, of course, then the next level that I'll be looking for is round about here, $1,400, and potentially even as far as $1,600. So if I was to put back on those balance areas, let's see if we find any confluence there. Okay, so that's perhaps a little bit too ambitious, that one above there. Okay, so in context, I think this monthly VWAP is fairly close to that $1,500 mark, which is the top of this balance area here, right? I know we've formed a little bit of a more prominent balance down here, okay, as we've been just kind of ranging there, but I was looking at previous price action here to give me that balance. Do you see that there? Okay, so that's basically the balance area that I'm looking for right now. Okay, so this is obviously not very visible on the 4-hour chart because I've only got this price action showing, and this is a visible range profile. So anyway, we've got the monthly VWAP here round about $1,400, and I think that's going to be strong resistance until proven otherwise. It has fairly close close correlation with this kind of or confluence with this previous level of support. You can see that the price kind of bounced in between the two balance areas to try and decide where to go, and we came here, but we've not tested the highs yet. So even if the price finds itself up here at $1,500, I'm not interested in buying at this level. At this level, I'm interested in selling. Okay, buying was down here. All right, so just keep your cool, and just don't think that that was it, that, you know, you've missed out, that this is the bottom and you've missed out. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of trades every single day. There are trades that you can take. Okay, so anyway, we've reclaimed the value area low of the monthly. The next level of resistance is around about here, $1,400. Okay, and ultimately the ultimate resistance really is around about $1,500, which is the imbalance between the two balance areas there. All right, so $1,400, $1,500 is now resistance, and we've got around about $1,000 as support, potentially even $1,050 holding as support if we are to look at this VWAP here. Over on the weekly, on the lower time frames here, you can see that we've already tapped the previous week's VWAP close. This is the previous week VWAP, right? So we tapped that, and we tested, and we kind of like got rejected there. Okay, there's also a low volume area here, so you know, it's unsurprising that we didn't get acceptance back inside of this cluster here. So we're finding a little bit of resistance here around about 1155. Okay, so like I said, we've got a weekly daily VWAP here around about 1100. Okay, and then the value area low of this is around about $1,040. So again, we're looking at this distribution here now as the potential range where we'll be trading. Okay, so we could be doing this for quite some time, somewhere between $1,050 and $1,150. Okay, that's a decent range to trade if you think about it. All right, so just keep you cool. And of course, if we go a little bit lower, like I said before, you're looking at around about $1,000, $800, which is basically where we bounced here, right? You can look at this as the edge, if you like. So we could potentially come all the way down here, and this should be the bottom. But of course, if we break below that, then we're going to be testing this area down here, which is, if you remember right, I showed you guys here on the higher time frames, this lower distribution down here. Okay, so somewhere between $750 and $300. All right, so let's hope that it doesn't happen. I think that potentially it could if Bitcoin goes down, because this is the thing. It doesn't matter what TAI do on Ethereum. If Bitcoin goes down, it drags everything down with it. So that's kind of what you're doing. But that could be a curse and a blessing. So you could be trading Ethereum and doing really well, and not trade Bitcoin at all. But you have to keep an eye on Bitcoin. There's just no two ways about it. So anyway, if we break down and we keep on printing lower highs, lower lows, that's exactly where we're going to go. And then, of course, when we get down here, it's the same kind of scenario. Are we going to test this area here, right, and then bounce back up? And if we bounce back up, can we get back above and inside of this cluster here? Well, if we get rejected there, then it most certainly means that we're going to get acceptance back inside of this one, and then we continue much lower. So just be aware, okay, that these levels here could potentially be short positions. Okay, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you how to spend your money or how to trade or whatever, but you know, here I'd be looking for a long position as a scalp, but here I'll be looking for shorts unless we reclaim it, confirm it as support, and start curling up. Okay, then that's definitely a long position and we go higher. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Okay, basically acceptance back inside of this level, or inability to be able to get back above. So if we go inside like this and we can't get back above it, that's a short position, and I think we're going to keep rolling down. All right, so that's what I see happening here on Ethereum. I'm not sure if it's going to go up or if it's going to go down, but at least now you've got levels of resistance, you've got levels of support, and potential scenarios of what happens if we break resistance and also if it breaks support. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all I can do to help you guys. So I can have a look at Ethereum USD here on the volume profile and see if we can find any confluence. Ooh, this is interesting. So I've got a naked point of control here around about $770. Okay, so this one's sticking out like a sore thumb. As you can see, there's nothing else there. So this could potentially be something that we tap in the near future. Okay, if we start seeing some downside. We've also got a naked point of control above us at around about $1,455. So we're right in the fucking middle. Okay, at these lows I'm looking to buy, at these highs I'm looking to sell. It's as simple as that. Okay, you can also see that there's a big area of consolidation around about here, and that's reflected here on this volume distribution. So even if we find ourselves rallying all the way up to here, right, on this low volume, $1,650, $1,700 is going to be strong resistance. There's no two ways about it. All right, so just keep that in mind. If we do indeed get up there, it doesn't mean that we're going to all-time highs or whatever. So I'm not being a bear, I'm not being a bull, I'm just trying to sort of instill a little bit of calm, if you like. All right, so that's all I can see here on Ethereum USD. I mean, I could show you the market profile, but there's really there's not really much point. Okay, we've got a little bit of excess, but we've left a poor low here at $932. Okay, we've also got a poor low on today's profile, and we've got a naked point of control at $960. All right, this is an area of consolidation. We've left some single prints at around about $1,400 as well. So that's yet another case for resistance at around about that level. $1,400, if you remember right, is exactly where, round about where that monthly VWAP is. Okay, you got low volume, that VWAP, and also some single prints there, which is basically what happened here. Just but large inefficiencies, inefficient candles. So yeah, if we go to the upside, that's basically where I'll be looking to short. All right, and at least take profit if I'm in a long. So with that out of the way, let's move on to Ethereum versus BTC, and we start again with a 3-day chart. And we did tap below, you know, pretty low volume area here. This is, you know, pretty crap. And we did talk about, in terms of levels of support, I did do here, put some lines of support and lines of resistance. I'll take those off because I want to explain something else first. But basically, I'm just looking at edges with these volume clusters, right? And also big round numbers, such as 50,000 sats. Guess where we bounced? 49.3. Okay. Around about 50,000 sats. That's basically where we bounced. Okay, we are back above a 2021 VWAP close, okay, which is this line here. This is a significant level, okay. That means that we're, for now anyway, we're not on our way to these lows down here, right, to the value area low of 2021 VWAP, at least not yet. Okay, so we're starting to see little glimmers of hope here on Ethereum BTC. So where will be the next levels of resistance? Well, of course, we are right on the edge here of a high volume cluster, and we've got a low volume node right there, right? So that's going to be resistance. This here is pretty much resistance where we are right now. Okay, so it just depends if we can get the strength to get back up. So let's move on to the levels of resistance first. And in fact, I'm going to change the colors here, because this is now, it should be acting as support here, and this one is definitely resistance, even though it's a pink line, 55,000 sats. Okay, we've also got a trend line that comes all the way back from June 2021. You can see that where we broke that, we kind of a little retested there, but there's not really that significant, and we've got the developing years VWAP way up here, very close, okay, to that trend line, and also the value area high of 2021, and the value area high of the developing years VWAP, way above there. Okay, but this is the next level of resistance that I think you will find if we do get all the way up here. Okay, we've got plenty of resistance at 64,000 sats, and I think we've got plenty of resistance here at 57,000 sats. So let's go put those levels back on again. As you can see here, we've got 55, 57. This is a larger liquid move here, but I'm going to put this on the daily chart so it's a little bit more granular. You can see here that these levels are going to be a little bit of a problem. You can see here this is previous support, so it held as support, and then when we lost that, we lost it here, retested this and confirmed that this is indeed resistance, and so we went much lower, right? So right there. So that's the next level of resistance as well. So we've got 55, 57, 60,000 sats, and then we've got a big like 1, 2, 3 previous areas of support here. So it's a big clusterfuck of levels there, round about 64,000 sats. Okay, and if I take this off, you can see that it's basically the value area low of the developing years VWAP. Okay, and it's right on the edge of this high volume cluster, right? So let's just put that on again, so you can see this level here, right? So this one is a big clusterfuck, right about 64,000 sats. So even if we do reclaim some of these levels and we start doing some progress here, the key level is this one. If we can break above this one, then I think we've got a very clear sign that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin in the foreseeable future. But until then, I think we're just kind of printing lower highs and lower lows. So again, this is a significant high up here, which is printing lows, right? It does look like a little break in market structure, but for me, a break in market structure on at least on a significant time frame like the daily is a break above here. All right. So this is the previous high. If we break above that, then I'll be happy to think that, or to say and state that Ethereum is going to continue to outperform Bitcoin again. But and it did for a very long time, right? So if I was to put this like this, let's put this on the 3-day chart. I mean, this whole time, even though we had highs and lows or whatever, I mean, this was just kind of like outperforming Bitcoin massively, right? Until now. That's a break in market structure. So I want to see a break in market structure going up as well, okay? So I'm looking at that 64,000 sats as potentially that level there, okay? I want to see this high here. I want to see this high here get taken. All right, so something like this, and then get back inside of this high volume cluster, and then we've still got all of this to contend with, but for now that's kind of what I'm seeing. All right, so again, lower time frames in terms of support and resistance, you can take these levels and mark them if you like. We're still like finding resistance at 55, 57, and then 60,000 sats before the big one at 64. Levels of support 53, 50,000 sats been holding up the support, and if we break down from that, then we can start looking at 47, 44, and ultimately 36,000 sats. But at the moment, I don't see that happening. It does look like this wants to turn, okay? We'll have to see how the reactions are, if we can do constructive price action here in the ways of higher highs and higher lows, something like that, right? So let's just see if we can do that. So that's on Ethereum BTC. And again, I just want to remind you guys that it doesn't matter what any TA that I do on any of these altcoins, including Ethereum, if Bitcoin decides to dump, it's going to dump and it's going to drag everything down with it. And unfortunately, at the moment, it does look like it's so closely correlated with the S&P that we're at the mercy of the fucking boomers. So it's just the way it is. Right, so with that, let's move on to the FODL pairs. Basically, FODL is a decentralized leverage trading platform with no funding and basically no need to transfer any of your funds to any centralized exchange. You can trade straight from your hardware wallet. It's basically like your, not your keys, not your coins, basically. So, yeah. So all the FODL trading pairs now, and I'll start with FODL versus USDT. If everybody's clear on the rest, I'll move on to these, right? So let me take some of these brush marks off. We continue to print lower highs and lower lows. It's just relentless. Okay, the selling pressure continues, and there's not really much else that we can say about that, right? We can just keep going with big round numbers such as 150, 100, 50, and so on. Okay, so we're looking really at 1 cent now. Okay, it's that low, and unfortunately, it's not just FODL that is suffering from this. Okay, there's loads of coins that are basically down 90% from their all-time highs. So it's just the way it is. And at the moment, all we can do is, because we got no previous price action, we're at all-time lows, we're in price discovery. So all we can do is just keep looking at big round numbers and just seeing where we could potentially bounce from. Okay, at the moment, again, there's no change in market structure. There's no any signs of kind of recovery. But ultimately, this one is in red because it's a previous level of support, and so therefore I consider this one a significant level of resistance at round about 6 cents. Okay, so that's the next significant level of resistance, followed by this one at round about 7 cents. All right, so for now we just keep trending down until something changes. If we move on to FODL versus USDC, this is on sushiswap, and again, very much the same situation. We continue to go lower. I'm going to change these levels, and all we can do is just keep going to big round numbers such as 15, 10, so let's just go to there like that, 10, and 5, and just keep looking at that in the way that that could potentially be places to accumulate. Don't forget that the human mind tends to look linearly at big round numbers, and that's why these big round numbers tend to kind of act as support and resistance. There's no other reason for it. Okay, there's no technical indicators, there's no previous price action, and therefore there's no frame of reference. We're in price discovery here. So moving on, lower lows, lower highs, continue the downtrend. FODL versus ETH, exactly the same thing. We continue to print lower lows. The range that we had formed here is completely gone, right? So I'm going to delete these arrows of potential ranges. Okay, so it's perhaps a little bit ambitious. We continue to print lower highs and lower lows, and so therefore we just keep looking for buyers lower and lower and lower. Okay, and we're very close to the even though this is like the all-time lows, we're getting very close to it. Okay, so I could perhaps put a little line there, put that as green, but I'm not sure if that's enough to hold it. Okay, I'd be looking at these big round numbers here in terms of way, and just look and see if there's algorithms can sometimes trade those, or big, like I said, traders like big round numbers. So again, lower highs, lower lows, nothing's changed, and we continue to print lower lows. Okay, Binance versus USD, BNB USD. Okay, so we continue to hold this range very vehemently. Okay, $200 continues to be support, and this is being defended really strongly, and I showed you guys why, because there's hardly anything below us. Okay, so if you look at this, is a large liquid candle here, very inefficient illiquid candles all the way up. So if we do fall below this level here at $200, then I think we could potentially see the price accelerate very quickly to these lows. Okay, but for now, like I said, 200 is holding, and 287 should be the next level of resistance, as it was a previous level of support. Okay, and it's largely untested as resistance. So ideally what we're going to be seeing is a range forming between these two levels here, and that's what I'm saying right now. Of course, if the price gets below 200 and then struggles to get back above it again, this is an entry for a short, and it will be the mother of all shorts, as I think we're going to go much lower. Okay, potentially 130 and even $72 as the next levels of support. Okay, so that's BNB versus BTC. Of course, if we break above that, then we've got another level of resistance at round about here, around about $340. Again, I'm going to change that. I'm going to put that a little bit further up on that low volume area there. Okay, so around about $336, actually, to be precise, is the next level of resistance if we do break above the first one. BNB, BTC, here we are. We've reached that level, basically, like I said, just like I said to you guys last week, on Friday. We were looking at this. Look at the last TA update. I was looking at this yearly VWAP here for support because we'd broken above it, and of course we did break above it, and we were on our way to the top of the range, and that's exactly what we did. We went to the top of the range. I also said that if we can successfully break above here and confirm this now as support, the top of the range now as support, which is this low volume area here, then we would be targeting this area up here. Of course, that didn't happen. I said if we try that and we get rejected, that's a short position, right? And that's exactly where we are right now. We got rejected there, and we're back inside of this range. So now the question is, do we trade on the upper side of this distribution, or do we go as far as the lower side of the distribution as well? Okay, so obviously this is one large distribution divided in two, which is a double type of distribution sort of thing, and we've got the yearly VWAP here, the developing years VWAP, acting as support. So if you're in a short, then I would potentially take a lot of profit here and close the majority of the trade, but I would leave some on because we could potentially go all the way down to here. All right, so just leave some on if you are indeed in a short. Okay, it's not financial advice, it's just educational trading and educational purposes. So in terms of BNB BTC, like I said, we've reached resistance. I think we're on our way down. Of course, if we come all the way to the yearly VWAP and bounce, then we could continue to range above here, right? And the more we tap at this level of resistance, the more chance we have of breaking it. Okay, and if we break above it, like I said, the next target will be way up here, as long as this level here holds as support. All right, so that's basically what I'm saying on BNB versus BTC. BNB ETH, there we are. So let me just delete some of these scribbles because at the moment it's just looking a little bit messy. Okay, that will do for now. All right, so just bear with me just a second. Trying to find that cross there. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just do it like this. It's easier. All right, and I'll just put a little line there. In fact, I'm just going to leave the line there and do it like this. Okay, so this is previous resistance. You can see from the big order block here, right? So basically we've just been acting there as support. When we lost out, we didn't test it as resistance. Okay, so this is a high probability trade. This was resistance. We broke down. We did not retest it until now. Okay, so just like I said, it's a high probability trade, and of course what happens when we get there, we overshot it, but it is indeed resistance. Okay, high probability trade, like I said. So if you are in a short right now, you want to be looking at this level here potentially as somewhere that you want to take profit, because we could have a range forming inside of here. If we look at the 3-day chart here, or maybe even the daily chart here, you can see that this is a previous level of resistance, 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 and then we broke above it. We've not tested it as support. So just like that level there was support that now turns to resistance, the same thing, resistance turns to support, and of course this could potentially be where we bounced from here, right, and just range inside of there. So that's potentially what I could see happening, but again, leave a little bit on because we could go back all the way back to here, to the yearly VWAP, and perhaps even as low as 14 cents. Yeah, sorry, 1400 way. Okay, so again, like you can see here that I've got two arrows. It's basically two ranges, right? So resistance, support, but potentially if we lose that, that could turn to resistance now, and then this level here as support. Okay, so that's Binance versus ETH. If we move on to AAVE USD, Let's have a look at where we are right now. So we're still kind of like this level held as support here. We did kind of, I'm going to move this here to the lows here, right? So this is the edge of the high volume cluster. So price has kind of changed this a little bit. As price develops, of course, it's adding volume to the chart, and this here reflects that. So we have to keep adjusting it, okay? So like I said, so this here is support now. I'm just going to delete this cross. I'm going to put the cross down here. Okay, so this is support, this is resistance, and I'm going to delete this arrow here as well. Spare me a second. Well, there you go. So these two levels here is support around about $41, $46, okay, and $76 as resistance. Of course, we do have a low volume node here around about $68, and you can see that that's been acting as resistance here. So we could potentially see a little bit of resistance there, but you know, this is basically before that's where support was. So that's the level of resistance that I'm looking for. I want to see for a breaking market structure, I want to see this level taken again. Okay, basically acceptance back inside of this volume cluster here. If so, then this becomes support, and this here becomes resistance, and so the price will range in there. All right, so for now that's where we are, and of course if we break down that, this is the next level of support, these levels here. Okay, so that's AAVE versus USD. AAVE versus BTC, nothing really changed. We're still very much inside of the range, testing. We haven't not really tested the highs at all, but that's the high there, that's the low of the range, and you can see that the range developing is a little bit wider when you put the rest of the price action here, right? But you can see that it's holding. Let's just see, is this a big round number or something? Let's just have a look at that. Oh, okay, so that could be the twin. Right, 2,500 sats. Okay, so 2,500 sats is acting as support right now. Okay, so I missed out on the big round numbers. So this is what I mean. I'm looking at the volume, but actually when you look at things, people like big round numbers, and that's basically where we're bouncing right now. Okay, 2,500 sats as support, and the level for resistance is around about 3,200 sats. Okay, so naturally I think that we kind of have a little range between these two levels, but we could potentially go as low as this one here, right? 2,250 sats, because that's the edge of the high volume cluster on the higher time frame here. Okay, low volume node there, as you can see. All right, break below that, I think we go down to these lows, break above that, and I think we go to these highs, and this is an important one. As you can see, there's the yearly VWAP right there. So that's AAVE versus BTC. AAVE versus ETH, you've got level of resistance here, which is basically that yearly VWAP, right? Level of support is the value area low of the developing year's VWAP, and also the edge of this high volume cluster here, right? So naturally what I think the price will do is just kind of rotate sideways until proven otherwise, very much like what we did here. Okay, break above it, break back below again, confirm that that is resistance, broke below it. It's just trying to find balance. Okay, so eventually we will find that balance, and I think ultimately if you take all the deviations to the downside and deviations to the downside, this is where the great majority of the volume is being traded, and that's basically the value area high and the value area low, right? So that's where I expect the price to be bouncing from. Compound USD. Compound taking a little bit of a battering here, although we did reclaim that level of support. Okay, we did tap this one here, okay, around about 25. Okay, I'm just gonna move that slightly like that. Okay, and we're back above this one. I think these two orange lines could be resistance. Okay, as you can see, they're low volume areas, but low volume nodes, but because it is such a low volume area, we could potentially see the price accelerate all the way to this top here. So for me, the significant level of resistance is where previous support was, and it's again, it's just textbook. So I'm looking at round about $55, okay, as the next level of resistance. Okay, of course we got $50 here, and we got $40, which is big, you know, both big round numbers. They could act as resistance as well, but if you're looking technically in terms of market structure, then I'm looking at $55 as the next level of resistance. Okay, compound versus BTC, very much the same scenario. We're still rotating between, and this level I think it's fair to put it as green now. I think it's held very well as support. Okay, so I think this is support and this is resistance, and therefore we're going to be trading on the higher the higher distribution there. Okay, so I think this is support, this is resistance until proven otherwise. If we do break above, then there's plenty of little ranges that you're going to form here with these little volume distributions that you can see here, right? So we'll just have to go level by level, and we want to see kind of this type of constructive price action on the way up. That's kind of like what we want to see, how we want to see it develop. Okay, but of course the market doesn't care what we want. So for now we're just trading between this as resistance and this here as support until proven otherwise. And don't forget that we're in a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, so we could potentially go a little bit lower and form now a range somewhere between these two levels here. All right, so just keep that in mind. Compound versus ETH. There we go, we're no longer in that range. Now we've lost that, and this is indeed acting as resistance. Okay, so naturally what I think we will do is we will go to the lower levels here. Okay, so this here is resistance, this here should be support. Okay, for some reason we're bouncing there. Let's have a look. Is that a big round number as well? 270, 280? No, I don't think it is. There's no previous price action either to go from, I don't think. This is definitely at all-time lows. So yeah, I think that's basically we're in price discovery, and this is now resistance and this is now support, and of course the ceiling keeps getting lower. Okay, so even if we go to support, ideally that's a bounce and we go back to the ceiling again to resistance. However, if we lose this level, then you know that the ceiling has just been lowered and the previous level of support is now resistance, and we're looking at the next level of support. Okay, so BAT USD, that's basic attention token versus US dollar. We have taken, okay, let me just take these squishy marks off. And just rechart this for you. Okay, so this is a previous level of support that was supposed to be acting as resistance, but we've just broken above it. Okay, it did get tested quite a few times. It got tested here, and then eventually we broke through it. So now can we hold that as support? Okay, if we do, then this here is the next range. All right, and we continue doing what we were doing here, somewhere between 35 cents and 43 cents. Okay, if however we get back below, then very simply this will be the next range. Okay, we'll be doing something like that, where this level does indeed turn to resistance and we go a little bit lower, just like we did here. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out, but that's basically what I'm seeing here on BAT versus USD. And if we do break above resistance, okay, we've got the value area low here of the monthly VWAP, but you can see that the price, again, very large illiquid move. So really I'll be looking at this level here, potentially even this one here, previous levels of support, right? Then this will be the next levels of resistance, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I'll be looking at those levels there. As you can see, it's also at the edge of a higher volume cluster there. So naturally, this here is going to be strong resistance. Okay. Moving on to BAT versus BTC. And BAT's doing fairly well against Bitcoin. I think everything's doing very well against Bitcoin. So let's just move out of this. Just take some of these scribbles off. Alright, so I'm going to put this as green here. This should now be support. This one here, I'm going to put it as orange because it's not clear if we're actually going to go and get back above that, or if it's going to hold as support or not, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, potentially we could see two ranges forming here. We could see this range here forming, right? And we could also see this range forming here. This is a little bit ambiguous because there's quite a lot of price action here. So let me just move this onto the 3-day chart and just try and make a little bit more sense out of this. Okay, so this is actually quite a significant level that we're at right now. So as you can see here from the higher time frames, okay, and if I was to put this on the weekly, it'd be even more visible, right? We've managed to stay above this low volume node here, and the great majority of this volume distribution, we're kind of above it now, right? So in hindsight, I mean, of course not hindsight, but you know, we are below the yearly VWAP still, all right? But however, we're below the yearly VWAP, but we are also above this low volume node. So this here is going to be strong resistance. I'm going to put that cross there because there's a ledge there. There's a big shelf in terms of volume, big discrepancy. Okay, if we get above that there, then I think we've got carte blanche or green light, if you like, to go all the way to the other edge of the balance. But this is going to be the main struggle here, the areas in red. Okay, so let's go back to the daily. So yeah, so these levels here, just above this yearly VWAP, is going to be very strong resistance, okay? So at the moment, I think that we've just got rejected there. This is a nice big wick like that, so that's a rejection. And I do think that we've got potentially either a range here, or we actually retrace the whole thing and come all the way back down here. All right, so if you see what I mean, this is a large liquid candle. What happens with large liquid candles? They get retraced most of the time. Look, large liquid candle gets retraced, right? So we could potentially see this going much lower, but for now this is definitely resistance. This could also be support here, but if it's not, and if we fail it, then we could come all the way back down to here, because there's a low volume area there, and that's the edge of the high volume cluster. Okay, so two potential levels of support, two potential levels of resistance here, or two definite levels of resistance above us, and that's where BTC is right now. Okay, so reclaim any of these levels. Okay, reclaim above, and of course we're going to go to this one next, and if we lose that one, then we're going to go to this one next. All right, so that's BAT versus BTC. BAT versus ETH. Okay, so this level here, I'm going to put it as orange because it could potentially be support, or it might not be. It does look like we're getting rejected there. That's why I've put the cross on the top one there, because that's the real level of resistance there. Okay, this one here could potentially act as support as well, but we've got the same problem, that this is a very large liquid move, and this is not BAT. We didn't see a pump on BAT versus USD, right? We did not see that down here, as you can see, right? But the fact is that BAT has just been going sideways, whilst Bitcoin and Ethereum had a massive dump, and as a result of that, you see this large liquid candle to the upside. Okay, so like I said, these tend to get retraced, so we could potentially come all the way down here, but we've got plenty of levels of support in the meantime, right? We've got low volume nodes here, we've got a yearly VWAP here, and we've got basically the base, or the point of release, if you like, which is also another low volume node there. Okay, so the edge of this high volume distribution. So all these levels could act as potential support on the way down, but rather than waiting for support, you might as well short at the top here. It's not financial advice, but just, you know, make sure that you take profit at these key levels on the way down. Okay, the trend continues the same, although you could argue that here we've got a change in market structure, because this was a high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then here we go, we break all of this. Okay, just broke all of that top market structure. So now what we want to do, and what we want to see here on BAT versus ETH, is printing a higher low. Okay, so we want to stay above this level here. We don't want to take out these lows, all right, in order for the price to be constructive. So that's all I've got on BAT versus ETH. Moving on to Link USD. I'm going to delete all of these, because obviously when I go onto the explanations, I do all these drawings, and then it becomes a bit messy. So let's just try and get some sense out of this. Okay, so it's fair to assume that this here is acting as support now. So I'm going to put that as a green line there. Okay, so there's deviation to the downside. So what happens in the range when there's a deviation? It tends to go straight to the other side of it. Okay, so this is potentially a little level of resistance here, around about $8. Okay, but I think we're on our way to $9 here. Okay, so I think that's what's going to happen here. Now we've just reclaimed this range, and therefore I think now we do something like this and go to the top of the range there, okay? And then of course we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But this is definitely resistance. This should be acting as support right now, as you can see here, although we're printing a few lows and deviations and stuff. But yeah, support, and then there's resistance, and there's a little divot in terms of volume here, right? There's that dotted line there that could potentially cause a little bit of friction, but that's not a real level of resistance. And this here is support, and we could break down and bounce on this support if we break down. And then obviously this one here is a big level of resistance way up here, all right? But I don't think we're going to get there just yet. So I think for now the range is this one, and we just traded between those two levels. So that's Link versus USD, so somewhere between $6 and $9. Link BTC, again the same kind of phenomena, right? We're not seeing massive pumps on Link. However, you look at Link BTC and it hasn't dumped as much as Bitcoin, right? So therefore it looks on the Link BTC chart, it just looks a lot healthier. So this level here is now support, as this was a previous range here, as you can see here, right? Previous range, we're broken above it, and this yearly view up is going to cause us a little trouble, right? And this here is resistance, all right? So in terms of, let me just draw this again. All right, so I think this here is the range right now, okay? And if somehow this one here doesn't hold anymore and we fall below, then I think the next level will be down here as the next level of support. If we do manage to get above the yearly view up and also this resistance level here, then the next level of resistance, as you can see, will be this one here and that one there. Okay, so let me just actually put a couple of crosses there. This one here and that one there as the next levels of resistance, okay? But just bear in mind that this is a large illiquid move here. And again, it's not because anybody's buying Link, it's just because they're not selling it compared to Bitcoin. All right, so moving on to Link versus ETH. Link ETH, very much the same kind of phenomena. We've got a yellow line here that I'm going to make a little bit more faint because it's just not being as respected as you would want to. But this here should be a next level of support. This here should be the next level of resistance, and then the arrow marks basically where the range is. Okay, so that's basically where we are, and we're very much in the same place that we were on Friday. Moving on to USD. This is the last of the last sort of coin basically that we're going to be doing analysis on. So previous level of support will turn to resistance. Okay, so it's already been rejected there already. So this here is resistance, this here is support, and therefore we should be trading kind of inside of this range here. And again, not much has changed, right? Previous support turns to resistance here, and so that's what you expect it to be. Big low volume node there, right? Low volume area right there. So if we do break above it, then we enter this new distribution, we're back inside of that range. So happy days, that would have been a deviation, and we're back inside of this range, okay? But we want to see confirmation of that, and what I mean by that is getting back above, confirming it as support, and bouncing. Okay, that means that we're going to this level here, potentially even this level up here. All right, so that's Uni versus USD. At the moment, like I said, we are at resistance, and support is way down here. So the range is this one, okay? Let's not confuse things. Uni BTC, next level of resistance way up here. We've broken above this previous level of resistance that now should act as support, right? And therefore the range is this one. Okay, and this is a low volume area here, so, and there's also a yearly view up, so I do expect that to be strong resistance and a previous level of support as well. So yeah, I think that that's safe to say. Let me just delete all these lines again. Let's do this again. Okay, I do expect this to act as support, this to act as resistance, therefore the range to be here. Okay, if we do break above here, the next level of support of resistance will be here, and of course we've got a little bit of a spanner in the works with the yearly view up right in the middle there. But eventually what we'll be doing is this range here again. All right, so that's basically what we're looking at this whole volume distribution here. So if we break below this one, then this here is the next level of support, and it seems like it's been pretty strong in holding that. Okay, but note that was the bottom there. We deviated from the bottom, swept the lows, went back up, and boom, it goes straight to the top of the range there. Okay, just like I showed you on the previous one. So that's Uni versus BTC. Uni ETH, finally. We've broken out of this range, so let me just delete all of this again. So this previous level of resistance should now be holding as support, and I think it will, because we're also above the yearly VWAP. Okay, so the next level of resistance for me is this one here. This is a significant one, right? And you can see that's basically like a low volume area right there, around about 410 way. Excuse me. And where this was previous resistance should now be holding as support, especially supported here with a yearly VWAP. Okay, so I expect the range to be somewhere around about here. Okay, so somewhere between 416 and 360 way. All right, of course, if we break below that, then I think the next level of support will be this one here. And I'll be changing that to green now. Okay, and that should be the next level of support, and potentially even lower, round about here, if we do get there. Okay, if we break above that level of resistance, then we've got all these levels here above, especially that one, as it is the edge of a high volume cluster. Okay, so with that all said, I think that's the last of all the trading pairs on FODL platform. So let's just have a quick recap here on Bitcoin and just see if anything's changed. Interesting, so we just kind of rallied above, came back, confirmed that we indeed got a rejection there. So let's just move on to the 4-hour chart here. Okay, so you can see the movement that I'm talking about here. We broke out of this little balance area, we came back, we confirmed that this area is now indeed support, and it does look like we're on our way up to this level here, around about $22,000. Okay, if we reclaim this level here and confirm it as support, then I think we've got a very good chance to going up to 24,500, which is where that monthly VWAP is, where I expect the next level of resistance to be. Okay, of course, if that doesn't happen, if we do indeed get all the way up here and this is indeed resistance and we get rejected there, then of course we're going to go lower, and then we'll have to wait and see what happens at this level here. Get below it, and I think obviously we're going to go lower. If it stays above it and it bounces, then we're kind of just going to be rotating here and creating a balance area in between the two balances, if that makes any sense. All right, so anyway, I'll have another TA update for you guys on Wednesday. I hope you guys, I hope this helps you stay on the right side of the trades. But for now, have a great afternoon, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.